Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about all of my backlists, reading and stats for 2024. Did I read the books that I was saying I was going to, and did I knock down anything off of my shelves for this year? How many books have left unread still on my shelves? Let's talk about it. Okay, so starting out, if you guys have seen my video of how many books are unread currently on my shelves, for those of you guys that haven't seen that video, I have 4 IKEA Billy bookshelves here in my room with extenders on top of them, and these shelves are full. I overall have almost 1,400 books in total, which is crazy. It's so many books. I love collecting books. I love collecting books from my childhood, which is what a lot of these books are, especially along these bottom shelves down here. I just love books. So when I did that video about a year ago, I think it was in February or March of last year, or for 2024, so earlier this year, I had 1,380, so 1,380 books total on my shelves. In my room, I have stacks of books everywhere in my room. Like, there's a lot of books in here. So 1,300, almost 1,400 books total. I can do math. So let's talk about the stats for just my shelves in general for this year. How many books off of my shelves did I get rid of? How many books did I read? So as of the moment of filming this video, I have read 105 books this year, which is crazy. It's so wild to think that. It's a lot of books. I will say a big majority of those were done via audiobook, which was a huge factor in how I was able to read as many books as I did this year, which was great. I traveled a ton, so I was able to read, which was really helpful for when I was on planes. I genuinely don't know how I read as many books as I did. It kind of blows my mind. That being said, and we'll talk about this in a later video, I didn't love everything that I read, but I enjoyed it. I really liked a lot of things, and I will say, I was actually really good about reading my backlist, which is something I've been really terrible at in years past. So usually within that, things do suffer, as in like I didn't read as many of my new releases. So we'll be getting to that in the new year. But with that being said, when I filmed that video back in the beginning of 2024, I had 605 books that were unread on my shelves. So pretty much half of my shelves, give or take, are unread, which is kind of crazy. That being said, like I said, read 105 of those books this year. I also added to my collection about 58 new books, which brings our total, if I was doing the math right, about 663 new books in total that were unread at any given point in this year. That being said, I tried to read new releases when they came out. Like I said, I wasn't the best at it, but I think I did pretty okay. Okay, so let's get into the breakdown of what my 105 books were. I had to take a second step away and check my math, but roughly, so to speak, of the 105 books that I read, 15 of them were books that I pre-owned and have either already removed off of my shelves and donated, or just don't have in the collection anymore. I try to do this about every month, where I go through the books that I've read for that month and remove the books that I'm no longer really interested in and try to purge those from my collection. Of those 15, or sorry, from that 15, there's also 13 of the books that I got this year. The 58 in total was like backlist and new releases. So of that 58, I've read 13 of the new releases that came out this year. I don't know the breakdown between new releases and backlist. They're all kind of shoved together on my shelves. So I read 13 brand new releases that did come out this year, checked off, loved. There's actually probably a couple more, but again, I think those might be ones that I did end up donating or weren't as big of a fan of. So give or take roughly 13 new releases, which I think is pretty good. And then I have 32 books on my shelves from the 105 books that I read this year that were backlist books that I ended up really enjoying, really loving, parts of series, things that I was really excited about. So yeah, overall, beyond that, because again, the breakdown 15, 13, and 32, the majority of those other 40 books of my 105 that I read this year were either library books or audiobooks. So I really heavily leaned into those categories this year, which again, I think really helped to amp up my reading this year, which was really awesome. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty excited to say that I read a pretty good chunk of my shelves this year. I would say overall what I brought in, I was trying to be really diligent about reading within the year that I got them. Again, not as good as I probably would have liked to be, but I also got through a lot of backlists, honestly stuff that's been on my shelves for a really, really, really long time. So yeah, overall of the 633, let me do a quick math and we'll jump back in one moment. Okay, that was easier math than I thought it was going to be. So we've actually maintained stability and we're actually down for the year, which is pretty incredible. Again, I think a lot of that has been, I just didn't buy as many books this year, to be honest. I usually do one big book outlet haul a year, which will probably be coming sometime in the new year. Still debating. A lot of those tend to be graphic novels, so I'm debating reaching out and doing another big book outlet haul because that's what a lot of my shelves are, to be honest. But yeah, for the year, drumroll, we started the year at 605. We've added to the shelves another 58 books, putting us for the year grand total of unread books on my shelves roughly at 663 books. With everything read, backlist, and new releases on my shelves, we have brought that number down to 603 books. So we're actually down from last year. Granted, it's only 2 books, but with everything being added for the year, that's pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that number, to be honest. I think next year I definitely do still want to continue to lean into the backlist side of things. I overall am actually really happy with that. I'm just down from what I was before. So I think for me, trying to think about this, if I can get my unread number of books down by August of next year, because I'm potentially probably most likely moving in August of next year, but if I can average out my books to be about 500 unread books on these shelves by August of next year, with just purging books that I don't end up liking, doing a lot of my middle grade reads and purging those, which tends to be a pretty good chunk, a lot of my graphic novels, going through a lot of those backlists and getting rid of them as I read them, I think that's actually kind of doable. I'm averaging about 80 to 100 books a year, these like pretty much since COVID, so I think that's actually really doable. So yeah, with that being said, let's round up the video with talking about the 24 and 24 that I was trying to read and which ones that I read off that list that I'm excited to share with you guys. Okay, so rounding out this video, here are some of the books that I was able to get off of my shelves from my backlist titles. I do a list every year. It's usually 24 books in 2024, or 25 in 2025. Just a number of backlist books that I've been really looking forward to reading and just knocking off my list. And for this year, I got through some really good ones and ones that have been on my shelves for forever. So let's like rapid fire jump through some of these. So first one was Circe by Madeline Miller. This one I've had on my shelves for quite a while. Classic, very well-known book here on BookTube. And yeah, really ended up enjoying this one. So glad that I finally got it off my shelves. This one was one I just finished up recently and I'm really excited about it. I think I'm gonna go back through a Cornelia Funk kind of reread of her books. I really loved them. This is The Thief Lord. This I think was one of her first books that she came out with, but I loved her books back in middle school. So I think I'm gonna go back through and do kind of a Cornelia Funk reread and I'm gonna enjoy those for next year. One of my new favorite authors that I'm so excited to dig more into next year. This is John Mars. This was The One. Don't watch the show. It's not as good. But yeah, this one I really, really enjoyed. I liked this one a lot. So definitely want to check out more from him. So glad that I was finally able to check that one off the list. Okay. I had been trying to read this for forever. And this one was definitely a surprising read, to be honest, because this one took me forever. I started this book, I think, like 4 different times, and it's not even that long of a book. But yeah, I really ended up enjoying this one, Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I do want to check out more books from her in the future. And yeah, this one was kind of just a fun take on a fantasy, like, fairy tale, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Okay, a duology that I finally got around to finishing was Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. I also read her newest release that came out this year that was like the spin-off of short story collections from this universe. I definitely think this is one that at some point I would love to refinish or revisit, just because this one for me was so hard to remember some of the details from Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So I think over time I do eventually want to come back to this series and reread it just because I enjoy it so much and they're just such good atmospheric reads. So yeah, definitely want to get back to this world someday in the future. Okay, then let's talk about this one. I kind of forget I read this year. I finally finished Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. This, of course, is Twilight from Edward's POV. This was unfortunately a bit disappointing for me. I enjoyed it, but I just forget how angsty Edward is and just how much of a like drama queen he is. I liked it. I'm glad I finally got around to reading it. It's a chunk of a book. I think I listened to most of this on audiobook from what I remember, so that definitely helped me speed through it a little bit quicker. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this. I'm glad I finally read it, but wasn't unfortunately my favorite for the year. Another one that I'm really glad I got around to was When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. I love anything Kelly Barnhill writes. I will always pick up her books. They're just so atmospheric and beautiful. I love her writing style so much. And yeah, this one was, I think, one of her first adult novels that she's come out with. This one was just so good, the way it was written with the news articles and the different types of different oh, what is it called? Like writing styles of like whether it was an interview or a video manuscript or different things like that. I just really enjoyed how she read this. I listened to this over several plane trips on audiobook for most of this. So overall, I really enjoyed this. And yeah, I just thought it was a very unique type of story. And the last one that I finally got around to reading, again, this is another one I've been trying to read for a very long time. This is Before Your Memory Fades by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is, of course, another one in the series of Before Your Coffee Grows Cold, or Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I try to read these every couple years, every year if I can, just because he's always coming out with new ones. I really enjoy them, but it always takes me a minute to get into these stories. So I listened to a lot of this one on audiobook as well. Again, shout out to audiobooks this year for being a true MVP. And I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. The stories are cute. Unfortunately, these ones aren't super memorable for me. Like if you were to ask me in 6 months what this book is about, I probably couldn't tell you, unfortunately. I do still end up actually wanting to watch the show because I know that exists somewhere on the internet or in the world. So I think it would be really fun to actually watch the show and get more context for it. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this. I'm glad I got around to reading it. Like I said, some of these books on my shelves have been there for years, if not a very long time. So I'm finally glad to have read them, enjoyed them for better or worse. So yeah, overall, I have definitely some books on my backlist that I really would love to get to next year, clear them off of my shelves. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, if you've seen any on my shelves that you're interested in me reading next year for my list for my 25 and 2025, there we go. Please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to take your guys' suggestions. And yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to see more of my face, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!